This is nScreen Media, and I'm Colin Dixon at NAB 2015. And I just finished a panel with Simon Frost of Ericsson, and this was the TV2020 panel where we were looking at where television is going to be in 2020. And we're just going to recap some of the high points of that discussion. Simon, you gave some interesting data on where we're going to be in 2020, particularly with mobility. Why don't you give us a quick rundown of that?
Sure. Yeah, so I think the overall theme was TV, as you say, in the network society by 2020. We made some key predictions that 50% of all content consumed will be on demand and 50% will be live linear at that point. And of course, that's going to drive huge traffic growth in the networks. It's going to drive the consumer behavior as well. I mean, the traffic point we talked about was that 55% of all traffic in mobile networks is going to be video by 2020. Something else that really surprised me from consumer studies that we've done, so we don't yet know what that'll be like ready for 2020, but the consumer study last year was showing just even from 2012 a 25% increase in the willingness to pay for TV anywhere in the consumer. So I think if we project that forward, you know, we're going to see networks engineered for video, we're going to see video absolutely everywhere, and we're going to see consumers more willing to pay for that.
And you know, one of the interesting things that actually came up on the panel, the water that drives all of this, if you like, is bandwidth. And what we heard from Bob Green from Liberty Media was he said that DOCSIS 3.1 would be completely rolled out by 2020 in Liberty's footprint, which gives 1 gigabit per second to every household. So I thought that was a pretty significant statement. Have you heard operators make such a firm commitment about 3.1?
Not yet at this stage. No, I think it was bold, and I mean, overall, we're seeing, of course, the IPification of cable, and I think we're seeing that, you know, we're seeing innovations in the DSL space as well with the telecom operators, and also the driving towards fiber. So I think broadband speeds and you know, the shift to IP delivery in general by 2020 is clearly, you know, it was on our radar, and clearly there was a big commitment today in terms of the fact that cable is going to be there definitely, and with great speeds for delivering video.
And he said one other thing that I thought was very interesting, and that was basically that they were going to have pretty much blanket coverage with public Wi-Fi in their footprints by 2020 as well. And bearing in mind what you just said about mobile, well, that's kind of a game changer, isn't it?
It is. One of the concerns we saw in the consumer study that we were doing is the data pricing, basically, for mobile consumption of video. So I think if you know, there's two ways of doing that, basically. Either the data caps have to lift, the pricing bundle has to change, or, as I say, if the cable guys are going to be driving more Wi-Fi capabilities, then we'll see an increase in mobile video consumption based on Wi-Fi on mobile devices.
Right. Tom Morgan, who's the CEO of Net2TV, he had a couple of interesting things to say about how the definition of broadcast is really changing, right? It's taking the idea of custom stitching together of segments to create shows. That seemed like that was game changing, right?
Yeah, the true personalization of a channel, basically, to the, you know, the curation of a channel down to the individual. And we've seen some of that as well from the acquisitions we made in the broadcast space. So we've, you know, looking after those big brands like we do with the BBC and ITV and others. Some of the innovation discussions we've seen and we've been having as well is, you know, how personalized can the broadcast channel become? You know, what is the future of the channel? Could the channel literally be the, you know, whatever you want to watch and what mood you're in? So, you know, he had some bold ideas, and maybe by 2020 we'll have that.
Well, I think in some respects, Portico TV, which is a Net2TV property, they can do some of this today. So maybe that's the future for broadcasting. It's pretty exciting to think about. And now Jeff Schultz, who's CBS Interactive, he talked a lot about the problems that we're having with discovery and what pieces were coming together to ease discovery. What did you think about what he said?
Well, he was talking about the need for data. He was talking about personalization, location, you know,
social.
Exactly, all the triggers basically, perhaps for discovery, and I think we see that as well. And I think ultimately, I think the big opportunity that needs to meet the big challenge is going to be for the TV service providers that really are going to have to continue to drive innovation in aggregating all these on-demand sources of content, all this online content, perhaps all this new niche content, and these new brands that become broadcasters and go online as well. So it's going to be a massive amount of online video sources to bring together, and I think whoever does that best, we think it should be the TV service provider, but they're not going to be exclusive. Whoever does that best towards the consumer is going to drive a big opportunity.
it seems like there's a pot at the end of that rainbow without question. Anybody that comes up with a good scheme for that, well, boy, that could be exciting. And I wonder if this is an opportunity for Apple with the new Apple TV.
Possibly, and I think if we assume that so much of this content is now internet capable for delivery, both linear and live, and certainly, of course, huge libraries of on-demand, then if the content's there, there are really very few barriers for creating aggregation platforms towards the consumer. So certainly, I think we saw that in our vision predictions for 2020, that the internet giants have strong ecosystems and they have strong potential to do that. So I think that's why we're helping the pay TV guys at the moment innovate with our Media First platform, because I think they have to.
And Jeff Schultz said one other thing. I asked everybody about HBO, and I thought that HBO was remarkably well positioned. And he commented that Netflix didn't really force HBO. It enabled HBO to sort of see the light, right? And I think that's a pretty sharp observation.
I think he said liberated, wasn't it?
Liberate was his exact word.
Liberate, yes. And yeah, I think the dam has kind of burst in terms of the content owners have wanted to go online. They've wanted to build a relationship direct with consumers. They want the metadata, the digital metadata that comes from the consumption patterns. Are they binge viewing certain types of content? I think the content guys we clearly see really want to know what's happening inside the consumer's behaviors, and so they have to be online. They have to have that direct digital relationship. It's been that challenge of how to not circumnavigate their core route to market, which is so far has been the TV aggregator. And so yeah, I think Netflix has created the environment where they have to do it, and now they're all doing it.
Indeed, and so I think it was a great panel. Really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for NAB 2016, and maybe we better make it TV 2025.
Probably we should, Colin. But and thanks for moderating. It was really great.
Thank you, and this has been Colin Dixon with nScreen Media.